That was a bit of a blow, wasn't it? Leicester City 3. Sorry, Leicester City, I wish. Coventry City 3, Leicester 1. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. Overall, it's the first time I've seen Leicester kind of struggle this season. Really struggle. And that was for a few reasons. We'll get into it. There was some refereeing errors. There was overall, even in the first half, overall, it was like the first half of the game, actually a pretty entertaining game. I think Leicester were really up for it. Coventry showed their 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 what they about at the end of the day. And overall, again, I thought Leicester towards the end we fizzled out of the game and Cov took advantage. Now we'll get into some of the specifics in the second half because we have to break it down to first half, second half, because without sounding too cliche, it was a game of two halves. So looking at the formation, the first one, there wasn't too surprising again who we went for. So up top with Hermansen in goal. Then we put in James Justin on the left-hand side, Vestergaard on the right, and Fast on the left. So I think the reason why, because some people are asking for why isn't Callum Doyle playing? Because obviously he had a great game against Millwall, a couple of great passes. But the reason why is because, again, I've know somebody you might have seen on the preview we did on the first game of the season with Chris. And we were talking about, again, and I've managed to speak with him a few times, and he mentioned that Sakamoto was a real issue. And he was in the first half. He was, in the first 5 minutes, he basically skinned JJ, put the ball in, and Hermansen saved it, pushed it onto the post. So, do you know what? That's the reason why. Vestergaard, I think, did okay. Fast we'll get onto in a second because he had a couple of moments where it went a bit meh, to be honest with you. I'm not going to get too carried away. And there will be people, again, as you were saying, Ethan, it was like their cup final. This is kind of how it was. I think if they keep playing like that, they will get into the playoff positions. But the most important table is this one that I've not updated. Hold on one second. So they can talk about Leicester get battered either way go. I know it's tongue in cheek. I'm all here for it because we do exactly the same thing in their situation. But this is the most important table. So Coventry actually climb into the top 6 with that result. Hull lost against Norwich recently. But you see, compared to there, where they've got, again, 25-point difference. 25 points, that's a lot in terms of that. So that's the gap they're going to aim for. Bearing in mind, Sunderland, Hull, just on their tails. Norwich are just there as well. I can't see Cardiff getting into the playoff, to be honest. So that's where they're going to be. But this is the first time we've had a real, first time we've conceded 3 goals. And it's the first time I've seen us really play defensive football and not break from it. The closest one I can think of is, remember we played Southampton away and we were 3-0 up and then we started playing defensive football and Mavididi got the 4th goal on the counter. That wasn't there today, especially in the second half, and it's understandable. People complain about the ref and complain about Fatawu. I'm not having a go at Fatawu. The thing is, we've said that let's just get into that because there was some really good bits to mention now later on, but there's some key points I want to mention. Obviously, the penalty, and we'll talk about Fatawu getting set off. Let's talk about Fatawu first because that changed the game for Leicester City. Let's be honest. That point. It was a low tackle. It was along the ground. Some people would have gone, that's not a foul. That's a penalty or whatever. At the end of the day, we were just not at it. And Fatawu comes in, and when people want the flair, people want the youth and the vibrancy, and that you're gonna get this little bit of payoff. And he's a young player. He's going to learn from this. He's an intelligent guy. He wasn't really in the game as much as he wanted to, and that's probably a reason why he put that tackle in. Does it excuse it? No. Was it a red? I don't think so. Personally, and trying to be objective as possible, I genuinely don't think that was a red because it was along the floor. It was kind of a follow-through, and it was wild, and it was slightly reckless. But that's just, we know him. So I'm not having any slander for people talking about Fatawu and, he lost the game. He's probably feeling like crap now. I'm just happy with the way that the team performed in the second half, especially the first part. The latter half we'll get into, but it was, even though it was a wall after wall of just cover attack, and we didn't really have anything. We didn't contact. Tom Cannon barely had to touch the ball, which is why we took off second half as well. I think we played in a way that We were well drilled, we were well focused, and it shows that confidence is coming through the team. Listen, we've not lost in 10. I think this is our 11th game or this is our 10th game. I can't remember the specific one that was mentioned in commentary that we've not won. And that's totally okay to me. Let them get carried away. Let them get their opportunity. Now we come together as a squad and we go, right, there's no Mavididi. We'll get on some of the tactical things later on, but there's no specific things that were really going to impact us. So we've just got to crack on with it at the end of the day. Move on, put it behind us, and go, look, we've got Ipswich. That's going to be a big game in the next game. So that's going to be a game that we're going to really, really look forward to. Confident fans see we're getting battered. And again, if they're singing, if I was at the ground, I would have just basically pulled up the table, kind of similarly to pull up the table and go, look, we've got battered, but we're 25 points ahead of you. And do we get completely battered in the game? No. For majority of that game, we were in that game. Even up to the end, I mean, they took some moments of individual brilliance to beat us. We could have done better. I'm not saying that, it was all them and we were perfect. No, we could have done better. Fast giving the ball away in positions, but their strikes were great and their balls that they won the game by were great. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, Cov were absolutely rubbish and came out of absolutely nowhere. We played our game. We did well today. And then again, people have mentioned about the things like that as well. This is something that I'm going to just look at the comments now as well. There is. So we've talked about Fatawu. Look, he's a young player, and we love that he's so passionate and animated. Sometimes when the game is not going away from him, we played well in that first half. Fatawu didn't get as many of the touch of the balls as he should, and he made some great runs back, great tracking back, defending. I think he did great. And he's a lovely 1-2s he was doing at times with Cassidy and bringing other players into play. He just had that game where, again, straight red. I don't know if the club will appeal it. I don't think they will. They're not the kind of club just appeal that kind of red card. However, I'm not going to get on his back. I'm genuinely not going to get on his back. He's a young player. And if you want him to have the flair and you want him to be a young player, he's going to do these kind of mistakes that were going to frustrate you. And that's completely fine, in my opinion. Do I think it's a red? Probably not, because if that's a red, the penalties are red, because he hit so high up and it did get the ball, but he follow through. Similar to Fatawu was more reckless. I see what you mean. So I'm not having a go at Fatawu at all. Let's look at we did have a whole week off. Yeah, well, if you think about it, mate, if we had even longer than that, imagine how many players we rotated for Millwall. Who played in that? Ricardo played. Cassidy played, Tom Cannon played. I think that was everybody. The rest of them were rotated. Hamza Chowdhury came on as a sub. So that's it. So they had enough time. It just doesn't, again, you put it in there as well. So, again, frustrated with him. Yeah, we're frustrated on this one game. We're not frustrated over his season. Overall, he's done this. And he's gone, 8s, 9s? Possibly even closing on 10 out of 10s. And when you imagine all the signings we've had so far. Even Cassidy looks like he's coming good now. So you mentioned Hermanson looks, I think, pulled off some few saves. I don't think could have done that much better with the game. Winks looked again today really good. Grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. I think in the last few minutes of the games, it did come away from him a little bit. But you look at the players like Cassidy, again, looking good. Eunice, again, it wasn't the game for him to come on. So people are complaining about the subs. Let me get the sub bench up, because there wasn't really a lot that we could do. I mean, who have we got there? Let's bring this up in a second. So people are complaining. Some people are in the comments having to go at the subs. If you look at the subs on that bench, defensively, Connor Cody going to come on for who? Yannick Vestergaard, who I don't think had too bad a game. Callum Doyle. JJ is better at dealing with Sakamoto than Callum Doyle. So again, we've mentioned before. Albrighton, we decided to get rid of wingers and play inwardsly. So play Casey McAteer as like a 3 number 8s, which I'm fine. Chowdhury came on later. Dennis Pratt, did we need him in the game? Atgun, no. McAteer, we got him on. Solarchek, we don't need to replace goalkeeper. And Reece Nelson. So looking at that bench, the best substitutions you could have made were Hamza Chowdhury coming on and Casey McAteer. I think Enzo got it right in terms of that. So yeah, I'm not. So people, there's somebody in the comments talk about, oh, the subs weren't good enough, things like that. We were all right. We were look, we were not too bad. But it's just one of the ideas of what we're trying to do. So after Fatawu was sent off, the penalty again, that should have, in my opinion, if you give a red for Fatawu, you're going to have to give a red for their defender as well, because that was a high challenge follow through. To be honest with you, then coming into a little bit of another one. So in the second half, we made the substitution, and we set up more defensively. I was wondering what Enzo was doing, because I was like, here's my money on Enzo. What's he going to do? And he sets up with kind of three at the back. Ricardo then comes back to right wing. And so we kind of set up like a 4-3-2 kind of thing. But out of possession, we kind of looked like this. So Tom Cannon up top. Again, it wasn't his game today, and I'm not going to hear any kind of slander from him. Again, he barely had a touch of the ball. When he did have a touch of the ball, you could tell he's got an eye for goal. We've seen that in the last couple of games. KDH was pushed in the middle. Cassidy was pushed on the right-hand side, trying to McAtee. I think the idea was try and win the ball a little bit more higher up, but we're going to be outnumbered in that position against Coventry. Winks, so JJ, Winks, and Vestergaard played the back three. Winks, Ricardo playing the two holding, and then Ricardo coming onto that right-hand side as he does before, which he spent a lot of time doing. And then, if you notice, they changed it, so they started targeting James Justin a lot more on this left-hand side. Knowing they can't get past Ricardo, they started I think over 50% of their attacks came down that right-hand side rather than through the middle. In general, I thought, just to be honest with you, Cassidy actually had quite a good game, to be honest with you. McAtee came on, did a job for us. I'm not saying he was great, but I think what he was, considering he's a winger, considering he is quite physical, and the formation that he plays, I think he did what he needed to do. He tracked back, he ran with the players, he pressed up front. And this formation, we've never seen it without. This is the first time we've got to about mid-January now, and we've seen it with 10 men. It shows me that in the second half, when we played this kind of formation, I thought I was like, the team were drilled, they knew what they're doing. We weren't as fluid going forward, but defensively, people were like, right, I know my role, I know my objective, I know what I need to do, I'm just going to crack on with it. I think about my notes, holding Coventry, and I think, do you know what? I don't think Coventry in that first, I know they got their first goal at 79 minutes. Up to that point, we did really well. We did well keeping them out, and not just from like last ditch tackles and things like that. It was genuinely just from the organisation that we did, and also Coventry weren't there. They genuinely, again, at the end of the day, the result at the end of the day, what that matters, but the context is important. Taking my VD off, but we were strong when Coventry were piling on the pressure, which I thought they could have piled on a lot more. We coped with it. And that's with one man down. It could have been worse. It could have been a central defender, or something like that. So the fact that we've got, again, another winger but played more centrally, I just thought was the right choice in terms of that. Ben Nelson wouldn't have played. Just looking at that as well. So looking at just some of the comments as well. It's a bit of a, it's a shock. It's a bit of a, it's kind of knocked the wind out of us. It's kind of brought us back to ground, which is okay, but we need to learn and move on this for next time. The first goal scored by them and O'Hare, I thought it was the small margins. They didn't completely beat Leicester off the park. It was only those small margins, and great play by O'Hare, I think, to get that first goal. And it was a similar thing for the other goals as well. For goal 2 and goal 3, it was only those small margins. You could argue in the second goal, people are saying, Hamza Chowdhury, he's heading the ball out the box. It was more to do with, I forgot his name, Van Uwick's first touch. That, again, really good first touch, and then to put it in and put it through a body of players. Mans couldn't see it, 2-1. Same thing with the third goal. With the way that Leicester played, again, fast, you could say, gives it away, but the ball jumps up in the air, and O'Hare runs into a good man space and finishes it off. I'm not going to get into the team too much. We did what we needed to do. We played we played some good football, but I don't agree with the substitutions. People say I don't agree with people criticizing loads and loads of substitutions. We were good in that first half. We were in the game. Statistically, I don't think we would have been looked at it. If we look at the statistics around that as well. Yeah, just look at let's look at if you look at the statistics in terms of it. Coventry, in the first half, we're looking at again. So we're away. We had the better of the expected goals. In the second half, they did. We didn't create anything in the second half, but that wasn't the idea. The idea was to kind of defend a 1-0 because of how strong Coventry were in the second half. If we go to all, we had the better opportunities. We had less position. This is the lowest position I've seen for Leicester City's have possession and things like that. So it was all basically second half. If I go to the first half, we had more possession. Second half, they just dominated off the park, as you would expect with the men down to when they go down to 10 men. When we go down to 10 men. However, I'm not having it at the end of the day with some people that as soon as for some reason with social media, as soon as we lose one game, everything goes toxic. If we look at this in the wider context of things, who we've picked points up against, we were frustrated the fact that Ipswich was 1-1 and they're just above us. Do you know what I mean? Where we are in the table, and again, there's a few more people to play. There is nothing really to be too worried about. Do we trust Enzo to get us back on track? Yes. Do we trust him to, again, find a replacement for Fatawu, who's out for the next 3 games? Yes. McAteer's going back into the squad. Yunus is there as well if we need him for a more technical player. Then we've got 1 game per week now. And the next run of games isn't like I'm not fearing them. Considering what we've played and how we've played so far, if we just look at these ones, if it would load up. Again, Ipswich at home on Monday. So we've got, again, a few days off for that one. Then we've got it's 27th of Jan. So it will be in the either Hull or Birmingham City on the Saturday. So again, another break. And then on Tuesday, we're at Swansea at home as well. So we've got we've got 3 home games in a row now to try and sort this out. In terms of the game and how we decided to play, the game ran away from us a little bit, but people are criticizing the subs. Who else would you have brought on? I think we played overly well in the first half. I think what we decided to do, and the players we came on as well. I'm trying to think of some other bits as part of it. I'm trying to find my notes that I put down. It was just we just were playing good football overall. I wouldn't worry too much, but again, Coventry were a good team. I'm not going to take it away from them. Coventry they played really good football, and if they keep playing like that consistently for the rest of the season, they will get on the playoffs. But it's going to be tough. I mean, if you take a lot of those, if you take the people that they're going to come up against, I think we're still going to be promoted. So we're on 65, 10 points clear. Again, if we win against Ipswich, we go 13 points clear of them. So it's a bit, I won't say a 6-pointer, but it makes a difference. Southampton and Leeds, I think. So Ipswich, again, there's only 3 points. They're probably looking down rather than up towards us. So Southampton might overtake them. Ipswich, I think the fact they lost our George Hurst, who we sold to them, is a big miss for them with their main striker. That's the problem with the strength of depth that they have. So Southampton will take that second position. And then you've got Ipswich, Leeds, West Brom, Coventry. Hull have just signed, what's his face? Carvalho, which I think was a great move from their perspective. What's their run of form like? Lost, won, lost. Yeah, it's not good. But Carvalho is a little bit of a championship cheat code. So he could that as well. But you know, I'm not going to get into the team too much. I think we're playing some good football. We're in a good position, and we're coming into the gate. We had an off game, and we weren't just completely disastrous. It was, remember, the goals were scored in the 88th and 94th minute. Maybe they tired us out into the ground, and maybe we just need to reevaluate ourselves, look at ourselves, and ground ourselves a little bit more as Leicester fans, and go, right, it didn't happen. I'm going to stay away from social media. I'm not going to be looking at it because this is my genuine thoughts and feelings around the game as well. if we were to 10 win, do I think we lose a game? No. I think if we've seen before, Leicester City come out second half stronger, and so do Cov. But we've seen the ways that we can blow teams away. And we didn't have that because we were like, right, we'll try and hold on to a 1-0 lead. But at the end of the day, if we go for it, I think fans are coming out and criticizing us. They go, what are you doing? Why are you changing your formation? Why are you changing? We should defend a 1-0 lead. Enzo can't win. Genuinely think and believe that Enzo can't win in this situation. It's not his fault. I think the team dealt with the fact that they got one man down much better. I think that, but then when the goals started coming in, it kind of ran away from them. The 3-1 scoreline, to be honest with you, flattered Coventry, even though they were great. I genuinely think they were that good. But we went toe-to-toe for them defensively. When you go down to 10 men, it's going to make life difficult. And it was. And we take our lumps, we take our L in this one, and we move on to the next game. I'm not going to be too worried about this game anymore. I'm going to go, look, do you know what? Off bad day at the office, we're still, how many points? 10 points clear of Ipswich. Our goal is to still get promoted to the Premier League. It's just, again, I think it was Yoglai puts in as well. It's just a shame it's Cov. Yep, pretty much. And considering how bad we would be, how bad it could be, well, it could have been a lot worse. There was tempers frayed. There was all sorts of things. The ref had a bit of a stinker, in my opinion, on multiple occasions. But again, I will say, I will take that over having VAR. Because VAR, I don't trust. As people say, Maresca won't be on the touchline. I'm not too bothered about that one. Again, I think the formation, the system, and also they might look over the bench, see Caballero and go, yep, that's Enzo right there. So it is going to be an important game. We will need to bounce back from it. But I believe in Enzo, I believe in the formation, I believe in the squad. And we've not really had a bad run under Enzo. Let's be honest. To this day, all things put aside, even though we go, oh, Cov beat us. Yeah, well done, Cov. Keep your trophy. We've got 21 wins out of 27. 4 losses, 2 draws. We're still the champion. I think at the moment, it's still the championship record holding points for this point in the season. Ipswich have had an unbelievable season. They've lost 3. We're 10 points ahead of them. Like, we're doing unbelievably well. And sometimes we get lost, social media gets lost in the what is happening in the last hour. Everything's wrong. Cry my eyes out. Everything is horrible. It's okay. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to be worried too much about, again, Fatawu. I think he will learn from this as a player. I think he might come out on social media and say, I'm really sorry. And he's going to take part of that personally. But his punishment will be sitting out for the next few games. And we've got ample people to come in and replace him in that opportunity. I understand why Enzo changed it to the 3 in midfield and put Cannon up top, and we tried to do long balls up to him. We did create some opportunities right at the end of the game. Cassidy had a good chance. Tom Cannon had a chance. When was it? Earlier on as well. The chances were few and far between, but they were still there. So is it all going wrong? No. You look at the likes of Chelsea, you look at the likes of Man United and what's happening in their situations. I think we're in a much better situation. It's just important to take that step back and not get completely doom scrolling. If I bring up Twitter now and just see what people are saying, people would have thought we're in the relegation battle. Think about this time last year. Well, actually, I think we were again just in the mud. So it's important to think about how much the squad has changed in what period of time, what we're looking to add, and also potentially with the likes of certain players coming into the squad. So looks like Sensei's about ready to go. He's been convinced by Enzo. Now we just need to wait for Dennis Pratt to move on, basically, or Danny Ward, and then we can bring another player. So that's my thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think this was the worst game in history? Leave them in the comments down below. I'll try and get back to you again, but thanks to everybody that's put the comments in, whether they're positive, negative, whether we agree or disagree. Appreciate your comments. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see everybody in the next video for the next match. So goodbye.